Hey, Leanne, I thought making you a quick video would be easier than trying to type in an email a response to your question about what grammar skills could you, or editing really is where those standards are, would you, focus on and learn four and learn five for writing workshop because they don't have any. Well, so our writing workshop lessons just follow the lessons from the writing workshop modules in HMH, which I'm going to show you in a minute. So here's a couple of options. When you scroll down here to learn 6, there's a bunch of grammar mini lessons within this module. You can chunk those up. So up here, when you're doing editing and revising, do some of these specific skills, right? Like peer proofreading. You may not do that. You may go back and work on forming contractions or reviewing spelling. Um, Up here, where you're integrating narrative elements or you're having a conferring conferences, instead of teaching that conferring lesson, work on some of these grammar skills, grammar mini lessons. So let me show you where those come from and why we have this group like this. So here's the module you're in. And as you know, it's like basically 15 lessons in every module. Um, and so they go through the writing process every time. And it's the same kind of lessons each time. So as we get through, and honestly, priming the students and the reading of the text, you're never going to read this whole text to the class. Let them listen to it on HMH or read it on their own. The read and the vocabulary, those first 4 lessons could really be kind of squished into some sort of introductory lesson each time you start a new writing workshop module. So you don't really need to do each of these lessons. Like the read is not, that takes way too long. You're never going to do that in one lesson, right? And reviewing vocabulary from the read. But as you get into the system or the explicit instruction, you're always going to have that pre-writing and drafting. That's going to happen every time. You're going to do drafting and then revising. And oh, I want to note on this. See this revising checklist that HMH has for you? You should be creating this in your own classroom. So every time you teach a skill to revise or edit their writing, you could point up to the anchor chart that you've been making and be like, dudes, we've learned how to put commas in a series. We've learned how to write questions. You know how to do that. So go back and edit your punctuation, edit your sentence structure. Where we're getting those grammar lessons from is right here, those explicit ones. So there's targeted grammar support within each module, and that is what we have in that Learn 6. But as you'll see, like proofreading marks, if you want them to be doing that, great. But this editing checklist is something you should be creating with your kids all along the way so that they know the things they've learned that they need to make sure they are putting into their writing each time. So take these targeted grammar support lessons and chunk them out. Like you may not do putting dialogue in the story, but you may talk to them about putting quotes, okay, and teach that skill. The peer proofreading, you may not teach this lesson, but have them go in and work on some of these targeted grammar support lessons that day. Teach them, show them where it is in the book, in the focal text. Which was the story that this writing is around, which is Chico, right? Crossing Bach Chito. Show them a sentence that has commas in a series. Write a sentence with commas in a series for them. Ask them to tell you sentences with commas in a series, and then tell them in their writing today they need to go back and put a sentence with commas in a series. One other place, if you want to find more specific grammar resources, if you go to All Resources and you go to Grammar, all the grammar mini lessons are here. They're in the back of your writing workshop teacher's guide. But there is a grammar scope and sequence here that has the clickable lessons too. So like while that's opening, when you look at this, when you look at your unit resources and you see these page numbers, these are from the grammar mini lessons. But you can also go straight into the grammar mini lessons and see how those are grouped and see those specific lessons that you could be working on as well. If you need to go back and work on more verb tense or using commas or nouns or whatever it may be, those are all here just in a different order than where they fall within the writing workshop, okay, the actual writing workshop. So we have ensured that all of those grammar lesson or every grammar standard which is really your editing standards. They're under editing now. They're not their own standards. Those are all here. And when you're teaching those foundational skills, you're getting into the spelling and stuff of that. So hopefully that kind of helps you understand why there aren't any here and here, because there weren't any grammar mini lessons in these first 5 lessons or these next 5 lessons, but then there were a bunch that were on the last 5 lessons of this unit. But I can't tell you what grammar skills to work on. You need to decide what your kids need to work on. And when you look at, let's see if I can grab it real quick. When you look at your standards and you get, I'm going to scroll real quick. This is just the vertical alignment of the TEKS. When you get down here to composition, I'm almost there. It's these D's, these editing drafts is where those standards